The Week in Review with David Davis. Right, hello. Welcome to the Week in Review and what has possibly been Rishi Sunak's best week as Prime Minister so far. This week we're going to cover the Prime Minister's new deal on Brexit, the most important story that we missed last week, that about Shamima Begum, which has developed some momentum of its own, and some further work on science, particularly on gene therapy and gene editing, which is moving ahead in leaps and bounds and having massive impacts on individuals' lives. So let's get into it. Now, this week's major news has been about the Brexit, the new Brexit deal, the so-called Windsor Framework, that's what it's been called, after where it was signed. It's the sort of deal that we've been looking for, frankly, since I resigned as Brexit Secretary some years ago. I said then that I disagree with Theresa May accepting the EU's demands for control of sequencing right through to the language over Northern Ireland. All of those things we shouldn't have conceded, and as a result, I left the government. I told the Prime Minister this week that this deal, in my view, is an astonishing negotiating success, delivers on many fronts. The green lane for goods Northern Ireland, a continuing problem of the normal operation of business between Northern Ireland and the rest of Great Britain, has now been resolved with the green lane. The red lane for access to the European Union via Southern Ireland principally. The same tax rules will now apply throughout the whole United Kingdom, something which was undermined by the previous deal. The Stormont break. This will give power to Stormont, backed up by the British government, to put a break, a veto on new European Union rules that might apply to Northern Ireland with its export trade and so on. All those things are really, really material advances. But in addition to that, there's another bonus, and that is our relationship with the European Union has suddenly gone onto a positive basis. From all of the agonies of the frankly overly weak times of Theresa May, then maybe the overly aggressive times of Boris Johnson, we've now got to a proper relationship with our major neighbour, one which is respectful in both directions, in which we both recognise each other's freedoms, but we will also support each other in all the things where we have a common interest, from Ukraine through to world trade. The deal landed remarkably well, and is, I think, being backed by most of the House of Commons, notably the Labour Party.
We will not seek to play political games. And when the Prime Minister puts this deal forward for a vote, Labour will support it and vote for it.
Yeah. But also by the SNP, the Scottish Nationalists.
But broadly speaking, Mr. Speaker, I'm fully supportive of the agreement.
And of course, it's delivered for the Prime Minister some of the best headlines that we've had for a considerable period of time, from everybody from the Express, the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, all coming out in support. This matters. Why? Because it will have a material impact on the outcome of the next election. I think this may well be a major turning point in the fortunes of the Conservative government under Rishi Sunak. Now, of course, that means that Rishi and the rest of his government can focus on the other two big issues which be in people's minds. I mean, there'll be the budget after the COVID period, after the difficulties in Ukraine, the international trade difficulties and so on. All of those things now will be able to be focused on properly, and the budget itself will be the next big piece of news, I think. And so that may well have a positive effect on our fortunes. Also, of course, the other major issue that's in people's minds is the issue of small boats in the Channel and the uncontrolled immigration into the UK under a variety of mechanisms, whether it's claimed asylum or whether it's claimed people trafficking and modern slavery. we are now able to focus on those two major issues. And I think if we get all three right, as knowing Rishi, I think you will, then we will be facing a country which is much happier with this government than it's been for some time. Now, last week there was a story running which we didn't focus on, but has now become even more important. And it's the story of Shamima Begum. Now, I take a view which is probably in a minority in the United Kingdom, and that is that we should bring back the young women from the camps in Syria, young women who've gone out to join the terrorists out there, frankly. Very often they were misled. Well, pretty much always they were misled. They were often trafficked. Certainly Shamima Begum, I think, was trafficked, and others were too. And of course, when they were out there, they were effectively used as sex slaves. And of course, that led to a number of young children being born to them as well. Now, this week, the independent reviewer of terrorism legislation, Jonathan Hall, has said that he thinks she should be brought back.
I really don't think the UK would want to find itself in a position where the Belgians, for example, have brought back all their women and children. If nothing else, it would create this sort of awful spectre of Britain's Guantanamo. I'm sure it would be a propaganda, coup for Britain's enemies. So I can't believe the UK is going to be a complete outlier.
So now the Americans, all our allies so far, apart from Canada, I think, all bring back their own people, their own young women from the Middle East, from Syria principally, and the Americans and our greatest ally in this, and Jonathan Hall, the reviewer of terrorism, all recommend that we should bring back Shamima Begum and the other young women. Is it beyond the wit and capability of the British government to protect the British public from any risks arising from a 23-year-old young woman? I should think we can manage that. And not to put it too fine a point on it, with those young women will come back the young boys and girls, their children, that are with them in these camps. And by bringing them back, we'll stop them becoming the new cubs of the caliphate, the new threat for the new generation, something to be avoided by behaving in a civilized manner now. Now, finally, time for a topic we've dealt with before on this channel because it's a massively growing topic, and it's the whole question of gene therapy and gene editing. The MIT Technology Review has cited how it could help with cholesterol. There's CRISPR technology that's experimental, and there are other forms of therapy. Just 2 weeks ago, the National Health Service conducted the first life-saving gene therapy on a baby, a 19-month-old baby girl called Teddy, who was suffering from metachromatic leukodystrophy. This is a fatal disease, and this therapy, if it works as expected, will save her life. And it has the potential, this therapy has the potential to impact hundreds of thousands of lives. Yet again, Britain in the front rank of the most, in some ways, the most important medical technology we've seen for some time. And that's it for this week. This could have been one of the most pivotal weeks in modern British politics. The government has achieved a massive success. The new Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, has achieved a massive success, which is intrinsically very personal to him. He has taken a detailed control of the negotiating process, which is almost unique to his style of operation, and demonstrated that brains matter in politics in delivering this outcome. So a very, very important week. And I hope you enjoyed our week in review this week. So that's it. Let me know your thoughts. Please do leave a comment below. And of course, like, comment and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Politics, if anything, is getting more interesting, not less, as the weeks go by. And I think the same will be true next week, the week after, and the week after that.